Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. This is the Networking RX podcast. Today I want to talk about connecting with others. That's what this whole podcast is about. Professional relationships, business networking. A lot of times when we think of networking, people think about getting out and meeting somebody new. And I'll hear people from time to time that will give others advice. Well, I'm not going to go there because I already know everybody. Or when I get to an event, I tend to ignore the people I already know. And that's fine. Getting out and meeting new people is certainly an important aspect with respect to building relationships. I mean, people are leaving our lives all the time. We have people who move away, people retire, people sadly die. And so you can't just put a stake in the ground and say, okay, I'm done. Here's where it's at. I'm absolutely done networking. Everybody in my life is the only people I need in my life, because that won't work. You need to kind of strike a balance between working with the people you know and new people. But there's another segment of people out there. And these are the people who have been in our lives and have fallen out of our lives for whatever reason it might be. And people fall out of our lives for all sorts of legitimate reasons. There are been people in my life who we spent a lot of time together because our kids might have been in school together. They might have played soccer together. My kids played club soccer. There was a lot of travel. A lot of people I really got to know. And then when my kids moved on to high school and on to college, I'm not running in those same circles with those people. So they were in my network. They've kind of fallen out of my network, or they're still there, but it's somewhat dormant. And remember that term, dormant. And there are people who move away. I live in Ohio. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I came here to go to law school. If you listen to the very first episode 000, I kind of talk about my journey, if there's an interest. But I went to college in Wisconsin. I grew up 8 hours north of there in Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And so I have all these little steps along the way, and the people I went to college with kind of went their separate ways. The people I went to high school with, I grew up in a college town, small college town, where a lot of my high school friends didn't stay in the area. Their parents moved on, they moved on. They're scattered around the world. And so you lose touch with people. And of course, I've got people in my life now. I've got people I certainly know, all the franchisees in AmSpirit Business Connections, lots of the members, people who serve the organization, people who are in organizations that I'm part of. The Charitable Roundtable, for example, is a charity that I devote a lot of time to. And so I have people in my life. I have people who've fallen out of my life, and then there are a lot of people who've fallen out of my life, and people fallen out of your life that are worth kind of reconnecting with. Let me share a story with you. It's not a story. There was a study that was done, and this was done at an executive MBA program. And what they did at the executive MBA program was they went and they gave the students an assignment. It was about 200 students, and the assignment was find somebody that you haven't had contact with in the last 3 years and reach out to them. Now, part of the preliminary part of the assignment was do a quick write-up of something you're working on at work. Just to back up a minute, executive MBA students work during the week. They go to MBA school on the weekend. The Ohio State University has an executive MBA program. people are working all around the country, probably all around the region, because there are these programs around the country. Might be in Chicago, Indianapolis, or whatever, and saying, for whatever reason, I'm going to get my executive MBA at the Ohio State University, and so they'll fly into Columbus, Ohio for the weekend. But they're working jobs throughout the week, and so they've got projects they're working on. So they detailed about this project that they're working on, and then they were tasked with finding somebody. Well, at first they were talking about this project and the people that they're getting help from on the project, who they're talking to. And then they're tasked with reaching out to somebody they've lost touch with, somebody who's fallen out of their network. And again, people fall out of our networks for all sorts of reasons. When I worked for the firm I worked for in downtown Columbus, this is 25 plus years ago, there were a lot of people I knew, and when those people left employment there, they tended to start going in their own circles again, and you would lose touch with them. Likewise, when I left, there are still some names of people down there that I remember. I don't know if they remember me. I certainly remember them. But we've kind of lost touch, and that's just the way it is. So these MBA students, these executive MBA students, were tasked with reaching out to somebody that they may have lost touch with, and just preferably having a one-on-one over coffee, face to face. Now, in this world, and I'm going to call it at this point the post-COVID world, we're working our way through this. We've learned a lot about technology. Not that we didn't know before, but just the use of technology. We've become much more comfortable with Zoom and Teams. I know people all over the world that I probably would not have otherwise got the chance to meet for it. My point is that, yeah, we can have these face-to-face, in-person coffees, but we can also reconnect with people that we, that have moved away. And still have the opportunity to do it. At any rate, back to the MBA study, told these people, reconnect with people that you didn't, that you've lost touch with, and bring into the conversation this project you're working on and see what comes of it. Now, what ends up happening a lot of times is we tend to think that people get stuck in life. We tend to think that when we graduate law school, that those people are still kind of doing the same things. Or when we leave a particular firm, it's like, okay, that person's still just doing that particular thing. And we forget that while we're growing and advancing and learning new things and having our own unique experiences, so are other people. And when you have the opportunity to reconnect with these people, you really get to tap into this whole treasure trove of information that's been building in their mind, their contacts, their information, the opportunities they're aware of. And the neat thing is, if you were a decent person all along the way, these people know you, they like you, they trust you. They are certainly interested in helping you get connected or get information, solve problems that need to be solved. And that's what these MBA students found, is that they got a tremendous amount of help from these people who kind of fell out of their world. And it really underscores, and the term they use in the study, they call it dormant ties. And it's really the power of dormant ties. And I think I devoted an episode to at least part of this early on, at some point last year at any rate. But there's a tremendous amount of power to these dormant ties, and we need to take the time to reach out to them. Certainly, it's great to meet new people. But the beauty of these dormant ties is they know you, they like you, they trust you, they want to see you succeed. And we need to take the time to remember to reconnect with these people from time to time. Just, again, getting on their radar. getting them on our radar. How can we help them? It's not always just, well, that should be part of the equation right from the get-go. Just figuring out how you can help other people, listening to them. But there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there, and in a way, it's a lot less effort. It's kind of like in sales or in business. They say that it takes 5 times more time, energy, resources to get a new client than serve the one you already have. And it's the same thing with respect to your network. Finding new people and integrating them into your network it's timely, or it's not timely. It's time intensive. It takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of learning. Not everybody works out. I may have conversations with 10 people, and you find out that 7 of them really just have an interest in selling to you. Really don't, have an interest in truly networking and building a relationship. And so you've had, 70% of those calls go wasted. Whereas with these dormant contacts, there's a tremendous opportunity to reconnect and find ways to help and be helped. So think about that as you go through the week, and who are the people that you can reconnect with, and benefit them and benefit yourself at the same time. To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales reps, and professionals in their areas to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity because these meetings are in the morning. Our franchisees, or a successful business type or professional, can add this on to what they're already doing. Again, our franchisees, all of them do something else. For a couple hours in the early morning, a few days a week, these franchisees work with the AmSpirit Business Connections member, operating our model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, consultants, professional speakers, web designers, travel agent. It really kind of runs the gamut. The wonderful thing is not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise, but the business networks that they build and the relationships they develop become great sources of referrals for their primary businesses as well. So in other words, they're building these groups and getting paid to build these groups through membership fees, but they're also getting referrals to design websites for travel, to sell houses, so on and so forth. So perhaps you know somebody, perhaps you are somebody, whatever the case. To learn more about the franchise opportunity, contact me. Email me using the email in the show notes. I would be happy to share about it, and just talk to you about it, and that might help you determine if you're interested, or you might be able to connect me to somebody who would be interested. But it all starts with that initial conversation.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today, and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.